Okay, so tonight I am pleased to present Jim Young. Jim is a cast
Oh,
member.
hey.
There you go. Um, Jim is a cast member. He's from Granby, and among other things, he has a BA in anthropology with some graduate level work in linguistics. He's been hiking, guiding, and exploring the Southwest for
Here.
over 40 years. Excuse me for just a second. Um, he's been hiking, guiding and exploring in the Southwest for over 40 years, and he currently spends his summers in Rocky Mountain National Park as the park naturalist on the west side, and also the winters there, where he leads snowshoe and ski tours, and he's working as with the education ranger on grade schools programs. Right now, he is at Horseshoe Canyon, and he's going to tell us all about that. Um, and he spends what, a couple weeks in the spring and a couple weeks in the fall out there. Um, and he's been volunteering with stewardship projects with the Southern Ute Wilderness Alliance and a special youth project with the Navajo Nation. Um, and then he's always out at Canyonlands. So, Jim, I'm going to let you go from here. If you want to go ahead and share your screen, and it's all up to you.
Hey, thank you. I'm going to click a share button. Hopefully you should have.
There we go.
It's up. Yay. Well, it's a pleasure to be here with all of you this evening. I am camped out in the desert. I am on the rim of Horseshoe Canyon in Utah. I'm sitting inside my van, which is why you see that peculiar background, because even though the sun is out, and it's not too cold, it's obnoxiously windy, which really messes with the audio. So I'm sitting in my van instead of letting you see this beautiful sunset out here on the rocks. I will try to give you a glimpse before I get into the meat of the discussion. Shoulder, you should see a pretty view of Utah and reasons to be out here. It's just plain pretty. I'm going to sneak back into my van because the wind is blowing my hair around. It's hard to stay well coiffed in the desert. So I'm back in the van. We're going to talk about Native Americans and their dogs, but there's a lot of backstory to go on. And I guess I have to give you some reasons why I might think I know something about this. There's a 2 mile stretch of Horseshoe Canyon down below me that contains probably the largest concentration of dog images on the rock wall of any place in North America. There are at least 16. I can easily count to 20, and there might be as many as 26 or more. There's a lot of dog images out there, most of them typified by the tail curled over the back. Although there are a couple other images that are identifiable as dogs in other ways. Besides being here on the rim of the canyon, what you need to know about me and why I might know something about this, I've been into this canyon roughly 140 times for the past decade. The images on the wall are friends. There are a few of them I talked to. You're looking at a guy I call Grandpa right now, Grandpa and his dog. This guy is 7 feet tall. Truly an impressive image. And his dog is with him, which indicates a relationship that was important enough to share on the rock wall. Another reason why I might know something about the dogs and human relationships is because my wife and I raised and rescued Siberian Huskies, the breed most closely genetically related to the images on the rock wall, for almost 40 years. So I have a touch of insight about how these kind of relationships could have developed. To understand really what went on with North America and dogs, because it's distinctly different from what happened in Europe. The dogs in North America all are the same. All of the findings, all of the burials that have been found, the various bones, the DNA testing that's been done, these dogs are all the same. Whereas if you think European dogs, you have this proliferation of breeds for all kinds of reasons, whether it's hunting, guard dogs, bird dogs, dogs kept purely for status or social symbols, all kinds of different breeds. 99% of the dog breeds in the world are European in origin. Here in America, no, something else happened. But to understand how it happened, I need to give you some background information. Some of this is campfire stories. Some of it is based on data. Archaeology likes its data points. What is this rock that was made into this particular tool? And how are the edges of shaped? And what are the angles? And can we assign it to a culture? And what year was it made? How old is it? Lots of data points, but data points tend to ignore the actual human and animal interactions that made our history. So to give you a little bit more background to understand the dog thing, you have to understand first that we have predators on land. I just call them the Predators Club. There's bears, cats, and the canids, wolves, coyotes, foxes. So bears, cats, wolves. These are the predators. These are the carnivores that exist on land. The bears are the Big Apple. Nobody messes with a grizz, and grizzlies don't even mess with polar bears. They're just they're the top end of the food chain on land. And they have something called a kill radius. Yes, a grizz can kill you by biting you, but the grizz's claws are also lethal. The grizz can take a swipe at a human and easily rip a human into shreds. Our skin is not particularly tough. So the grizz can kill anything that's within reach of their paws. Cats operate a little bit differently. They use their forelimbs to knock down and pin down their prey, and their kill is made by a bite, preferably a bite to the back of the neck. So their forelimbs, again, they don't do the same work as a grizzly's does, but they're still effective at knocking down their prey. Wolves don't use their forelimbs for anything except running. They're not tools in the capture and kill of their prey. Wolves love to run. They love to chase. A lone wolf will go after small animals. A pack of wolves will go after animals much, much larger than they are. And they do it by small bites to the limbs and gradually bringing their prey down so they can open the packaging and get to good stuff inside. Dogs are runners, but dogs are hunters. Dogs might be the best hunters on land. Bears have a superb sense of smell. Cats have great eyes and ears. Wolves combine all three to be the best hunters on land. But if you follow what I just said about the way they take down their prey, they are the worst killers of the predators. So we've got this hierarchy of predators: grizz, cats, wolves. Really, really good hunters and killers, except for the wolves. They're horrible killers. It depends upon a pack operating together, functioning as a group, herding their prey, selecting the weakest member, and taking it out with lots of small bites to the limbs until it finally collapses. We aren't part of that group. We are not part of the Predators Club. We have a horrible sense of smell. We have bad eyesight and lousy ears compared to the members of the Predators Club. And our skin is incredibly thin. I hate to say it. Some people cringe when they hear it. I've told this story around campfires. We were prey until some of our ancestors figured out what they could do with a sharp stone. We were prey, not hunters. And the sharp stone and figuring out how to make it sharper, and then even going a step further and figuring out how to tie it to a stick gave us a way of defending ourselves. But those tools don't make us hunters. It did not improve our sense of smell. It did not improve our sense of vision, our eyesight, our vision. And it did not improve our ears. It gave us defensive tools. So we were killers. Killers by accident, lousy hunters come across something big and okay, we can try to take it down. Small things, suddenly we could get them at distance. But what our stone tools and our sticks did for us, it extended our kill radius. Remember, I talked about the grizzly bear with the great kill radius, their claws. The cat can knock things down, but their kill is done with the jaws. Wolves, killing done with the jaws, period. We have extended our kill radius. That alone made us something to be afraid of, but that doesn't make humans hunters. We were hunters by accident. I have had a problem for a long time describing our early ancestors as hunter-gatherers. They're more like hunter-killers of opportunity. But hunters, no. So now we get to good stuff because these are dead. And this is new stuff. The study of dogs is really, really new and has just accelerated literally in the last 5 years. And the DNA work has just been wonderful. What turned me on to some of what's happening was a book by an archaeogeneticist by the name of Jennifer Raff. Her book, Origin, was published just 4 years ago. And she traces the peopling of the Americas through her DNA work. It's fascinating reading. It's really, really well done. But in her work discussing the peopling of the Americas, she talks about dogs. And she references the work of a woman who was at Oxford in England at the time. She's now at Texas A&M. Angela Perry was studying with DNA the dispersal of dogs across the planet. So now we get to the meat of the issue when we start to get closer to dogs in the Americas. Imagine 30,000 years ago. Our ancestors had all kinds of sharp stones tied onto the end of sticks. They're able to defend themselves, so the predators aren't messing with them anymore, so the population is increasing. They're still not hunters. They're killers by chance, coming across something that they didn't smell, didn't see. They walk up over a ridge and, oh, there's tomorrow's dinner. But they got to it entirely by chance instead of by hunting it. 30,000 years ago, there exists no dog DNA. 28,000 years ago, there exists dog DNA. That 2,000-year gap is fun to think about because that dog DNA is from Central Siberia. Somewhere in that 2,000 years, a pack of wolves and a group of humans decided to work together. I think it was accidental. Neither one of those was going to willingly engage with the others. I think by accident, a pack of wolves may have been hunting something, a pack of caribou or a herd of caribou, some muskox, deer, something, Central Siberia. And they happened to drive the herd because wolves are herders, driving their animals in front of them. Wolves are herders. They're driving the animals. They're after that last weakest link in that chain of critters in front of them. And they happen to drive those animals towards a group of humans who are unaware of what's happening until suddenly they realize, look at all these prey animals coming at us. Quick, grab your sticks, grab your stones. We're going to have a feast. And the herd shows up and the humans do what humans were doing best, killing things. And the wolves pull up to a big stop because they realize that, whoops, humans are there with their sharp stones. And somewhere in the process, maybe, an alpha wolf makes eye contact with an alpha human, and they understand what just happened. Wolves hunted and found a herd of animals and drove them at the humans, and the humans did the killing and butchering. So maybe that alpha human was smart enough to take a piece of meat, a leg, some delicious inside part, and toss it to the wolves as a thank you. So it happens once. And then maybe it happens again. Maybe the wolves decide they're going to hang around the humans. Maybe the humans are going to decide that they're going to follow the wolves. However it happens, wolves start working with humans. They come closer and closer to humans. And actually, we've got some good work that has been done since the 1950s at a ranch in Siberia domesticating foxes. Fascinating stuff about how many generations it takes to get a wild animal to live comfortably close to humans. So something like that happened in Siberia with the humans and the wolves. They started working together. The wolves, I want to know who that first wolf was that was brave enough to sneak into the circle of light around the fire where the humans are telling stories, and to be willing to trust the humans and come close enough. And then that first human to notice the wolf at his side and reach out an arm and touch the wolf, the first dog. That had to have happened. So now let's move forward a few thousand years. This phenomenon of wolves and humans working together is a hybrid pack. Hunters and killers starts to spread southward. And the DNA tracks the movement of the people and the dogs moving south. 22,000 years ago, there's an interesting split. One split moves south and east deeper into Asia. The other group moves south and west into Europe. So we've got these hunter-killer packs moving now into a couple different directions. We're going to focus on the group that moves to the southeast. Because about 16,000 years ago, give or take a few days, that group splits in half, or splits apart. Part of the group heads further east and becomes the dogs that we now call Siberian Huskies.
Ah,
People who raised Huskies, the people who still raise Huskies, are called the Chukchi of Eastern Siberia. And their oral history of raising their dogs, their Huskies, goes back thousands of years. Meanwhile, the group that split off and headed a little bit further south, this is the group that becomes fun to follow. Because about 14,000, 13,000, 12,000 years ago, the DNA from that group of dogs shows up in the Americas, matching the timeline of the migration of Native Americans into the Americas from Asia. And something that's really telling is the DNA of those dogs indicates that their diet made a transition from meat to more fish. Isn't that fun? Our dogs aren't fishermen. Wolves aren't fishermen. They had to be traveling with humans who were providing them with fish. So they move into the Americas and they continue this very successful model of hunter-killer packs, working together and expanding very, very rapidly across all the Americas. It's really astounding how quickly it happened. And it doesn't happen because humans are fast runners and good at sniffing out prey and providing a lot of meat necessary for the animal protein necessary for muscle development and somewhat for brain development as well. It happens because they're working together as a unit. spreading quickly across the Americas. Meanwhile, over in Europe, things are going to start to happen a little bit different. Something really significant happens to the human population that moves into Europe, where it moves into Western Asia and Europe. They discover horses. Horses change the game for those humans because now humans can travel faster than ever before on the back of a horse. Humans can now herd. Humans can now do the job that their dogs had been doing. So the role of the dog changes dramatically once the humans get on the back of a horse and can move across the landscape at the same speed or faster than their prey and be able to herd their prey and manage their target animals. So the role of dogs changes. It starts to splinter off and become very specialized, which is why we have the proliferation of breeds out of Europe. All kinds of different sizes and shapes of dogs, bred for different kinds of reasons. Some of which made sense and some of which made no sense whatsoever. But that's what happened in Europe. Meanwhile, the other group, the ones that moved east, their dogs stayed remarkably the same for thousands of years because they didn't have horses. They still depended upon their dogs, their friends, to do the hunting and to do the herding, to bring the game animals to the human killers. Wow, difference in between dogs in the Americas and difference in the dogs in Europe. It's fun stuff to think about. But from an archaeological point of view, what I just said cannot be proven. This is conjecture based on behavior. This is conjecture based on the dispersal of the DNA patterns that we see in recent research. The fun stuff to look at. This role of dogs in the Americas didn't begin to change until agriculture. With agriculture, and I'm going to give you something really controversial here. With agriculture, it's actually more time intensive for the humans. A lot less time intensive for the dogs. Because now they don't have to go hunting for that ear of corn because the humans know exactly where they planted it. But how about this as a concept? If the humans, both the males and females, are more involved in agriculture and dry farming, especially out here in the Southwest, what are the dogs going to do? I have a suspicion that the dogs were the daycare managers for the kids. As long as the hybrid pack is moving and working together, the kids and the humans are working, and the dogs are working closely together. But once the humans get caught up in agriculture, and that is much more time intensive than hunting, once the humans are busy in the fields, now the kids are out there running around. And who's going to keep the kids together? It's the animals with the really strong pack instinct. Just ponder that thought for a while. Just file that away. No way to prove it, no way to ever come even close to proving it, but it certainly feels comfortable to me that once agriculture set in, the dogs became less important as hunters and more important as keepers of the pack. They kept the kids together. And of course, once the European invasion happens, and the huge decrease in population, the concern probably was just staying alive rather than keeping your hunting partner alive, your dogs. The North American, I call them North American, Native American Huskies, they begin to fade out and die off. And the genes of those Native American Huskies disappear completely with the European invasion and the European dogs. And their DNA is just swamped under the European DNA. So there's no known existing Native American Husky DNA wandering around, except in one place, and nobody's tested it yet. There are dogs on a rather large island in the North Atlantic called Greenland sled dogs that may be the last remaining remnant of the Native American Huskies. Maybe. Excuse me, my watch just decided to do something arbitrary. So the Native American Huskies are gone completely. But what's fascinating is that they stayed in their role. The hybrid pack continued to function for thousands of years after it had disappeared in Europe because of the horse in Europe. Completely different evolutionary tracks for the groups over there and the groups on this continent. Now, for fun, whoops, come back here. Trying to share my screen. The dogs in rock art are depicted primarily as painted images. There are a few packed images. They are almost always associated with humans, which indicates a close relationship that somebody felt compelled to put up on the rock wall. Painting images on rock is time intensive. It takes a lot of different people doing different things. Somebody has to gather the color material, somebody crushes it, somebody mixes up with the magic elixir that makes it stick to the wall, and then somebody puts it on the wall. And maybe there's somebody backseat driving from down below telling them, no, 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 make this longer, make it go somewhere else. But I believe that painting was a group effort. And it took a lot of individuals to create those images. So if a dog is appearing on a rock wall as a painted image, it's significant. If it's next to a human, on a human, alongside a human, there's a relationship there that we don't understand. It's important enough to put for the author who created that image to put it on the rock wall and preserve it. There are a few dog images that stand alone. You're looking at one of them. There's no human image around this dude, which means that this dog was important enough by itself to have its story told on the rock wall. Sometimes the walls get busy, all kinds of things going on, images that you think you know what's going on, and then you look at the next image and you're completely lost. What's going on here? Lots of different images, lots of different ages, and there right in the middle on the bottom, there's a dog, curled tail. Is that dog related to the image just above him? The color density seems to be a little bit heavier in the dog, a little bit darker. So maybe it's just a dog that was important by itself, or maybe that dog is related to the guy up above him. We'll never know. But there's a dog. Relationships. This, I believe, I interpret as a human child based on the size that's dead. There's no limbs. So the child is wrapped up in its funeral finest. There's a story to tell about the child. You can see the child was wearing a headdress of some kind. So this child is somewhat important. And this child had a relationship with its own husky. There's a relationship here between a dog and a young person that was worthwhile showing on a rock wall. Again, we'll never know exactly what that means, but I believe strongly that when you've got two images that are done the same way, in the same manner, same color density, applied to the stone in the same way, that's showing a relationship between the two that was worthwhile preserving. Now, and apologies for the woman photographer who chalked this in 80, 90 years ago. These are pectin images, and what we appear to have is a dog on the far left herding. Remember, I talked about the wolves and their love of chasing herds of animals. As they became dogs, their two skills that were essential to the humans were their hunting and their herding instincts, the ability to drive animals to where the humans could kill them. Here in Colorado, I almost said here in Colorado. I'm not in Colorado, sorry. There in Colorado, where all of you, most of you are, there are game drives up above tree line along the Continental Divide. I don't believe that humans are fast enough to herd anything. We got these two legs. We're slow. We're not very agile. We can maybe herd turtles. We can't even herd cats. Anything bigger, we've got no chance. We can't herd them. But we're the killers along those rock walls, waiting for our dogs to do their job and herd the bighorn sheep along those game drives so that they can kill them. Evidence of a dog herding. For those of you familiar with images on rock wall and the things that we can do nowadays with coloring the images or adjusting the images, this dog is in Horseshoe Canyon, but I had not seen it until a year and a half ago. Took a picture of the human form and the scratching in the rock wall next to it, and then ran it through a program called D-Stretch, which is essential for anybody looking at rock art, applying a variety of different color filters until you can get the image to pop out. And now what we have is, instead of just a few scratches in the rock, now we've got a dog next to a human form. Something to notice. Again, something we'll never understand. The face of the human has been scratched out, as has been the face of the dog and the paws of the dog. I believe that was done by another Native American for their own spiritual belief reasons that we will never, ever be able to get a handle on. But it shows a relationship between a dog and a human, and then somebody coming along later and being bothered by that relationship and trying to cross it out. There's so many stories written on rock that we will never understand. Dogs were not only hunters and herders. Dogs, North American, Native American Huskies, Siberian Huskies, are a wonderful source of fiber. Their fur is in two layers. The outer layer, the guard hairs, are longer, straighter, and contain the color that you might see in a dog of a husky or a related breed. So the grays, the darker colors trending to black, maybe even reddish, that's the outer guard hair. The inner layer of fur that grows out in the fall to keep them warm in the winter and then is shed every spring, those layers, those furs are shorter and very kinky. So they twine well together. If you know anything about fiber at all, about combing fiber, rolling it, and then twisting it, that inner guard hair from Huskies sticks together really, really well. You are looking at a display case in the Edge of the Cedars Museum in Blanding, Utah. Centerpiece, a 14-foot long rope made out of that inner dog hair. There are also a couple ceramic dog figurines. And then there are a couple sashes. Sashes appear quite often, actually, archaeologically, and are kind of dismissed, but they may have been status symbols. A sash itself doesn't serve any real purpose other than perhaps as a belt, except they're too elaborate to be a belt and too well made, too well detailed. So sashes had to be some kind of a status symbol. In this case, there are a couple sashes. The one on the left, I think, includes maybe some of that warm hair from the inside of a buffalo coat. Buffaloes also bison have two-layer coats, the outer guard hairs and the inner hair that keeps them warm in the winter. So I believe there's some bison hair in that sash on the left. But the one on the right appears to be pure husky fur. Is it a status thing? Is it a status symbol? Is it simply decoration? Again, we'll never know for sure, but it sure is fascinating to speculate and to dream about what it might be meaning. Another dog, another place in Utah. This dog doesn't have the curled tail. And again, apology for the chalking. A lot of the chalk stuff that was done in the San Rafael Desert area of Utah was done by a single woman photographer who was trying to record these images in the 1930s. Oh, so we got to deal with the chalking. But there's a dog without a long tail, but in a classic dog pose and in a head, jaw, ears, that's hard to deny looks dog-like. These images are scattered all over this area. Again, almost all painted. This is a fun panel. Again, hinting at what goes on with the dogs. There is roughly a triangular shaped collection of animals to the left, and underneath them is a dog. This panel has been very badly shot up during the cowboy era. All those pockmarks are bullet holes. So we've got that little herding scene on the left, and then to the right, we've got two gentlemen having a discussion over a stick with a dog underneath them. This particular panel, and there's some Barrier Canyon style images above the herding scene. This particular collection of images, I believe, are much newer than the Barrier Canyon images that are just above it, but represents a tradition that obviously had been going on a long time. And it's a very rare depiction of fully articulated human forms. Arms, legs, wrists, knees, really, really well done with dogs. When I was first told about this panel, the archaeologist had told me I had to go looking for a pair of double-headed bighorn sheep. This panel is hard to find. It's hard to look at. It's really hard to photograph. Believe me, I've worked at it for a number of years. Finally got it. Finally got it. It's two dogs. It's not a pair of double-headed sheep. It's two dogs. Why are the ears elongated and stylized? We don't know. But definitely curled tails. And these are among the relatively rare pecked-in images of dogs. They appear much more often as painted images. This photograph is from 1909. A collection of Blackfoot women with their dogs. And remember, by 1909, the Native American Huskies have long gone. So their dogs are now mixed breed European things. But notice they're tricked out with travois. Remember the horses story? Horses in Europe? Well, in the Americas, the dogs, in addition to being hunters and herders, in addition to being companions and a source of fiber, they were also workers. They dragged travois all over the place. And this is an example of how late the tradition continued, depending upon their dogs as their traveling companions to haul their load along with them. This is fun. This is an artist's reconstruction of what this particular dog may have looked like based on its DNA and its genetic makeup. This dog has a name. Its name is Mutton. Mutton died in the 1850s. Mutton's owner was a a Smithsonian ethnographer and geologist working in the Pacific Northwest. We're not sure how he got this dog. This dog is described by the people that it came from, the Coast Salish natives of the Pacific coast. This is described as a woolly dog. Their oral tradition has them breeding Native American Huskies for their underfur, their underdown. specifically for fiber to use in their weavings, in their fabric work. And their oral tradition carries this back again, thousands of years. Mutton, we don't know how mutton ended up with this particular ethnographer. Mutton was probably one of the last or the last of its breed, according to the CAS Salish. And his owner did something that I'm sorry, the average dog owner it's not going to occur to them to do. When mutton died, his owner skinned mutton. And he sent the hide to the Smithsonian, where it sat on a shelf with the original tag until about 3 years ago. I can't make this up. When somebody said, wait, we're looking at dogs. There's a hide down there in the basement. And they went down in the basement and pulled mutton's hide off the shelf and did all the DNA work. And it was specific enough to be able to give us this image now of mutton, a woolly dog bred by the coastal Salish for their fur for thousands of years. But look at the look. That's a husky. It's just got long hair. Native Americans and their dogs, partners all the way along, hunters, herders, source of fur, pulling travois, companions, not pets, but companions. I'll finish off with one little story from my own personal history. My grandfather, on my mother's side, was a bird hunter. That means a shotgun and going walking in fields and looking for pheasant and geese and turkeys and ducks. He had hunting dogs, German short-haired pointers. As a kid, I can remember walking fields with my grandfather with the dogs flushing out something, going into full point, holding still until the sound of the gun and the command fetch, and bringing back whatever was shot without any teeth marks in it and dropping it at the foot of the hunter. The other thing I remember about this is that my grandfather's dogs were not pets. I can never remember going for a walk with any of those dogs. I can never remember playing in the house. Those dogs lived in a pen outside. They were my grandfather's hunting companions. My own personal experience with dogs as hunting partners, doing the hunting so the humans can do the killing. That's part of why can so easily accept the rest of my story about the hybrid pack of hunters and killers working to dominate the landscape. I hope you've had fun with my stories. I hope you had fun listening. Anyone who has any questions, please type them in the chat box and I'll have Beth read them off for me. It's been fun putting this together again. This is a larger version of a campfire story, this time with images. I've got a number of different stories, and I'll just leave you with one little tidbit, something maybe to tickle your imagination with, the kind of things that run through my head out here thinking about Native Americans and the populating of this place. Just think about this. There's a person I want to meet. I want to meet the first one of our ancestors who tied a knot. Which brings us to another question. What did that person tie the knot in? And why did they tie the knot? And then go ahead, let your imagination run a little bit. What do we have if we can't tie knots? For starters, we don't have clothing. You can't rig a travois for a dog or a horse to pull. Can't make a leash. Can't make a climbing rope. All kinds of things are impossible. So let that tickle your imagination. Come up with your own stories. Show up at a campfire out here in Horseshoe Canyon with me someday and tell your version of a good story. I've got lots of other good stories. Fire is fun too. But that's my dog story. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Jim, thank you very much. That's fascinating. And I think that dog looks like looks like a Samoyed.
Samoyed, correct.
Yeah. My sister was really into Samoyeds. But I have, and the knot thing, that's really interesting. Um, okay, I don't see any questions in the chat yet, but I have a couple. When you had mentioned that as they're looking at the DNA, as people went south in Europe and and you said they went from, they could tell that they went from eating meat to eating fish. Do you know what they were measuring?
Specifically, no. I'm not a geneticist, so I can't tell you what in the DNA makeup, what in the bone structure indicated a shift to fish. But the diet, the makeup of the diet is something that can be determined by bone in the bones. And again, I'm not a geneticist, so
Okay.
I won't try to tell you what chromosome made that possible, that
Hey,
deduction.
I will have to keep digging into that. And then dogs in Africa, you've talked about dogs in Northern Asia and Europe and the Americas. What about dogs in the Southern Hemisphere? Know
Ooh,
anything about that?
well, something different went on in Africa, and I don't think enough DNA work has been done there to produce like hyenas, which are a member of the canid family. Don't know where they came from, how they evolved. But they
They're
thought,
really weird.
now they're totally weird. So are dingoes in Australia. So there are pockets where weird things went on that not enough DNA work has been done to answer that question.
Okay, got another question here. Do dogs appear in any of the artifacts like totem poles or artwork of the Alaskan or Pacific Northwest Native American groups or any other groups?
I have seen images of totem poles that I suspect might be dog, but they're stylized enough they could be some other animal. They could still be a wolf. So there's no way to conclusively say, oh yeah, that's a dog on the totem pole.
Okay, I'm looking to see if there's any other questions. Thank you. This was awesome.
Well, thank you for giving me an opportunity to tell a story.
Okay, here's one more. I've read a lot about indigenous people of the Four Corners area using turkey feathers for blankets and shawls for warmth in winter. It seems like that would be a lot more effective or a lot effective than using dog fur if they had dogs around. Do you have any idea how much wearable fur you can get from one adult dog in a year?
Oh, well, see, that's the fun part. My wife is a fibers person. She spins, she knits. She has collected fiber from our huskies, spun it into yarn, and knit it. In fact, there's somebody watching this right now who has a hat made out of husky fur. My wife has a vest made out of husky fur. Just one spring's collection. That's a lot of fur. There's an awful lot of material. And those turkey feather vests, there's one at the edge of the Cedars Museum that I've looked at. That's that turkey feather garment seems to be woven together with husky fur as the yarn, as the thread to hold it together.
Wow. I'm going to have to think a lot about this knot thing. I mean, how do you get the stones on your sticks if you don't know how to
Exactly.
do knots?
Exactly. I want to meet that guy. That guy was an inventor.
The
Who the
library will close in 30 minutes. The public computers and the public restrooms will shut down and close in 15 minutes, and all room reservations will conclude. Thank you.
That was our first warning.
time to close up shop so you don't upset the librarians. Gotta
Okay,
keep happy.
any other questions?
Questions, comments, anything?
Oh, yeah, here's a comment. It was a woman making clothing that tied the first knot.
That's fine with me.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming tonight. It's good to see everybody. I will be sending out this email with lots and lots of stuff on it. Chance to please contribute to enter the sweepstakes. It's good for it's really important for our scholarships for the Alice Hamilton Fund, and the prizes are really cool. So, please take a look at that. Minimum donation is only $10. Obviously, the more you buy, the greater your chances of winning.